All right, guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about Joaquin Buckley and what is next for him after UFC Tampa. He's now on a 6-fight win streak in the UFC. He just won his first main event against Colby Covington. First big name on his resume. I mean, there's Wonder Boy. That's a pretty big name. And Luke's a solid name too, but I'd say the biggest one so far is the Colby Covington win. And now that he's on this run, I do expect big things for him. I don't think he's getting the title shot next. I think that obviously it's Shavkat, but I do think that he's probably going to get a title eliminator next. And I do have a couple ideas of who he might fight next, whether it's a title eliminator or just in general. So, in my opinion, what's most likely is I think they're going to remake the Ian Gary Joaquin Buckley fight. Originally, they were supposed to fight in Tampa. They took Gary off the card because they wanted to make Ian Gary Shavkat Rakhmonov, and I don't blame them. That was a great fight. So they put Colby instead, and Buckley got the win, like most expected him to, like the books expected him to. He was like minus 250 in that fight. But I think the one that makes sense now is do the next title eliminator. You already have Shavkat fighting Bilal. We all know that. So set up the next challenger. Do Buckley, who's on a hot winning streak, and do Ian Gary, who's on a streak too. And his only loss ever is to the guy who's about to fight for the title and is also 19-0 undefeated. So even though Ian Gary's on a loss, I don't think it's a step down or anything for Buckley. I think it's still a pretty big step up. I think that Ian Gary is a much harder fight than Colby right now. And yeah, I think that's the most likely fight. Personally, if you made me decide, pick who they're going to do next, I think it's going to be Gary. But I think there's a few other options. I'm pretty sure he called out Usman, but Usman pretty much quickly said, I'm down for anybody, but not now. I guess he's recovering or something. He's been out for quite a while. I don't think he's fought since that Hamzat fight. And I don't know when we're going to see him next, if we ever really see him next, to be completely honest with you guys. I'm starting to lose hope on that. And I don't think they're going to give Usman somebody like Buckley. I really don't. It's too much risk and not much reward, Like, if they give Usman anyone, I feel like it's got to be someone with a big name. Even though Buckley's on the precipice of fighting for the title, I just don't really see them making Usman Buckley. If they did, that would be an interesting fight because you can trust Usman to go 5 rounds, to wrestle 5 rounds, and we still don't have an answer of whether Buckley would be able to go in the 4th and 5th with a high-paced fight. But again, Usman's a lot older now. Buckley's the fresher fighter. Usman's got a ton of injuries, the knee injuries, all of that. And yeah, he's just older now. And now he's been very inactive as well. So if they make that fight, I honestly think that Buckley would win. In the Ian Gary Buckley fight, I'd pick Ian Gary just because he has more ways to win and he's more well-rounded. But that would be a really fun fight because I think the majority of the fight would play out on the feet. Whereas with Usman, I would expect him to shoot. I don't think he would strike with Buckley. And then after that, who else did I think? Oh, yeah. And then there's 2 other options, in my opinion. There's Leon Edwards, who I don't know where he went. I don't know what they're doing with him next. They're certainly not going to give him a rematch with Bilal with no other wins because he looked horrendous in that fight. I don't think it was his fault. I think it was because Bilal is that good, and Bilal is just historically underrated, but he's always been a great fighter. He's only improved, and he's made me a ton of money. And he's made a lot of people a ton of money, people who backed him because he's constantly an underdog. He's constantly underestimated. So yeah, but I don't think they're going to make Edwards Buckley. I have a hard time seeing it. It would make some sense, to make a title eliminator, because then you could be like, okay, Edwards just lost the belt, so one more win and he's back in the picture. And then if Buckley beats the former champ, he can go on and fight for the belt. So promotionally, it would make some sense, but I also think it might be a really boring fight because Edwards doesn't engage. Edwards will probably grapple, and Edwards could probably win, to be completely honest, but not really a fight I want to see. And then the last one, and honestly, so I think Ian Gary makes the most sense, and I think that's the most likely one to happen. But I think the most fun fight would be do Buckley versus Jack Della Maddalena. That would be a fun fight. I'm pretty sure they're similarly ranked, and it would just be an absolute firefight on the feet. Neither guy would probably shoot. If they did, probably wouldn't have much success because both guys have good takedown defense. JDM could be taken down sometimes, but Buckley's not a prolific wrestler, and I don't know if he can do it for extended periods of time. So it would be a war on the feet, and it would be a really fun war. I don't even know who I'd pick. They're 2 different strikers. They're Their styles are very different. Buckley is just this explosive in and out guy with huge movements every time. JDM is a little bit slicker in my opinion, but it would be a really fun fight. So if I had to cast my vote for which one I want, I'd say do JDM versus Buckley. But it doesn't make a ton of sense because I don't know if JDM's anywhere near the title picture yet, whereas Buckley I think is just about there. He needs one more win, one more really good win, and he's probably going to get the next shot. So I hope they make that one, but I expect them to make Ian Gary. And I will be making a matchmaking video for the rest of the fights on the UFC Tampa card. So make sure to be looking out for that. And thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.